Hello and welcome back to the Super Slabs by the Carwells YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about beds in your Airbnb because the bed is likely the most high traffic area in your B&B, and it absolutely is the pinnacle of comfort in your Airbnb. So you cannot afford to screw this up. In this video, we are going to be talking about 4 different points of strategy when it comes to selecting and completing the beds in your B&B. 1, we're going to cover the bed sizing and quantity in your property. 2, we're going to cover the actual material that the bed frame is made out of. 3, we're going to be covering what type of a mattress we recommend. And 4, we're going to be covering linens and duvets or comforters for your bed. Let's start with size and quantity of beds. A lot of people have a strategy that suggests that you need to put as many possible beds as you can in your Airbnb, and I tend to disagree with that. There is definitely strategy behind how many people you're hosting, and typically you do want to make sure that you are cognizant of hosting as many as comfortably fit in your space, but I would not recommend putting a ton of bunk beds in every single room because that's just going to create a party house, and your neighbors and your guests both are going to be a pain point for you moving forward. My strategy whenever we are starting a new project, whether it's for myself or for a client or for Superhost Labs, is really understanding who your niche client is. If you are aiming for families, yes, I would definitely recommend having 1 bunk room in there for the kids. Another rule of thumb for us is in your primary bedroom, if you know that you can fit 2 queen beds and you're stuck between deciding on fitting 2 queen beds in that primary bedroom or 1 king bed, a king bed is a checkpoint that people can filter on Airbnb through, and they can check that as something that they want. And so going forward across all properties, I would highly recommend that you put a king bed, a solo king bed, in the primary bedroom. Another reason why we do this is because oftentimes the person who's actually paying for the property is the person staying in that primary bedroom. So you definitely want to make sure to spoil them a little more than trying to fit another 2 heads in that property. Also, one thing to note, we have worked with so many investors who specialize in very large properties. And what they found over time is that there is no real big price difference or profit difference in between hosting 12 people and hosting 16 people. The biggest difference in between the two is that more stuff gets ruined when you're hosting 16 people than when you're hosting 12. Because when you're at that 16 mark, you really are encouraging the party crowd to come in and really abuse your property. So what we've found is a sweet spot for us is that 12 to 14 mark instead of really trying to push a ton of people in a property just to try and make an extra buck. Now, next on to bed material. What I mean by this is when you start shopping for beds, you're going to see a variety of different material choices. Typically, they either land in the wood frame beds or they land in the metal frame beds. We have done both time and time again, and what we found is that if you are purchasing a metal bed frame, what we highly encourage you to do is get a 4-inch thin box spring to go between that mattress and the bed frame. Metal bed frames tend to be a little bit less expensive than wood bed frames, but they also bend very easily. And the fasteners that are holding all of those metal pieces together loosen a lot quicker than on a wood bed frame. So what we found is that it requires a lot more maintenance, but with that 4-inch box spring underneath the mattress, it tends to make that metal bed frame last a lot longer and bend a lot slower. With wood bed frames, we've seen them last quite a bit longer than the metal bed frames, even though they are a little bit more expensive. But again, it doesn't hurt to have that 4-inch thin box spring underneath a mattress on those as well, because it's going to help evenly distribute the weight across the bed a little bit better. But at the end of the day, if you want that very modern, chic, low bed frame look that's very in right now, and you don't want to include that box spring underneath of your mattress, I would highly encourage that you choose a wood bed frame over a metal bed frame. Another solution to metal bed frames that we've found that's worked if we, again, want that metal frame and want that low profile and don't want that box spring is to opt out for the metal rungs that come with the metal bed frame and opt in for wood slats that you can put down on your bed frame instead of the metal ones. Again, the wood slats just seemingly last a lot longer than the metal slats do. And also when it comes to bunk beds, you will see metal bunk beds, you will see wood bunk beds. Bunk beds are ones that are very, very difficult to add a thin box spring into because you've got that height restriction on that bottom bunk or the height restriction of the ceiling from that top bunk. And so what we found is that every single time we always opt in for the wood bunk bed frames. They are more expensive again, but they will last so much longer. Kids jump on the bed. It's just going to happen. There's no way that you can avoid it. And those metal bunk bed frames are the bed frames that we see wear out faster than any other bed frame. So especially with your bunk beds, opt in for the wooden bunk bed frame. It will absolutely last longer and it will save you some heartache on the back end. Let's move on to mattresses because the mattress has to be comfortable. People value their sleep and they especially value their sleep on vacation where they're there to get a little R&R, relax, and they want to be comfortable. We have bought every mattress under the sun and we've wanted to narrow down our mattress choices from super expensive ones to super cheap ones and try and find something in the middle that both serves the investor, that doesn't cost them an arm and a leg, but doesn't sacrifice the sleep or the quality of mattress experience that your guest is having when they're staying in your B&B. Our personal sweet spot after buying so many mattresses is two brands, the same firmness on both brand. We either purchased the Wayfair medium memory foam mattress or the Zenus medium memory foam mattress. There's both memory foam and gel, but as long as it's that medium thickness or that medium cushion, that tends to be exactly what people want when they are staying. We have gotten so many compliments since using these in all of our Airbnbs, and some of my B&Bs are now 3 years old and the mattress is still performing very, very well. As far as the size of the mattress goes, my process looks like if it is a bunk bed, I get an 8-inch medium memory foam mattress. If it's a full or a queen, I get a 10-inch, and if it's a king for the primary, I go above and beyond and I get that 12-inch full-size thick plush mattress for likely whoever is paying for the property. Now let's talk about linens and quilts or duvets or comforters. What's the right option? I have two different strategies for two different price points of properties. If you are a host who isn't in a super high competitive, super luxurious, really high standard market, and you want something that's a little bit more automatable, needs to get replaced less, and maybe costs a little bit less, but doesn't sacrifice the experience of your guest, what I recommend doing is buying a different colored sheet for every different size bed. What I mean by that is if you've got a king bed, get tan sheets for the king bed, and then green sheets for the queen bed, and then gray sheets for the twin beds. What this does is it saves your cleaners a lot of time on trying to figure out which linens go to which beds. Also, because they're colored and they're not white, they need replacing a lot less often. Makeup is a little more forgiving on colored sheets, so on and so forth. White sheets just have to be replaced a lot more often than colored sheets do. And so it saves you time on the back end, and it also saves your cleaners time on every single turnover that they go through. With that being said, if you are in a highly competitive area or you are absolutely adamant about having the cleanest, most crisp experience for your guest, then white is the way to go because white immediately tells people that it is clean, it is crisp, it is ready for them to sleep in. Just make sure you factor in for more replacements with white sheets than you would if you have colored sheets. When it comes to quilts or duvets, again, kind of the same theology as I have. Depending on your price point, depending on your competition level, if you are in a mid to lower tier market, you can absolutely get away with having a quilt. The benefit to quilts is they don't require as long to wash in the washing machine or as long to put back on the bed. So it really is you doing your cleaners a favor and being able to add that quilt in with the sheets instead of having to run it as a whole separate load if it were a comforter. Again, if you have a white quilt, it's not going to last as long as a colored quilt. And in my opinion, I have colored quilts and colored sheets in all of my properties, and I also have charged more than all of my competition. So in my personal opinion, I've never had a complaint on it. I've never had to lower my fees on it. And it also has cost me less money and less trouble on the back end keeping those clean and replaced. If you are in a market where you see your competition offering white across the board and you feel a certain type of way about offering white clean linens and white duvets or comforters, please go ahead with that. But I wouldn't recommend getting a comforter over a duvet. The benefit of having a duvet is that you can pull that duvet off, you can throw it in the washing machine with your sheets, and it is not an additional load of laundry for your cleaners. It will take them a little bit longer to put it back on the duvet insert, but you will not have to wash a whole separate load. So although it may take them an extra 15 minutes to put it back on the insert, it will not take them an additional hour and a half for that full load of laundry per bed to wash a comforter on top of sheets, as opposed to just having to wash a duvet cover with the sheets. Hopefully that answers some of your questions around beds and beddings in your B&B, because that is an area that you do not want to fail on. It is your most used area in your B&B, aside from maybe your couch or your dining table. So make sure you get it right, make sure you have a strategy behind it, and happy hosting. If you found value in this video, please like and subscribe below, and we'll catch you next time.